Apes left off and make a very brief presentation introducing the essential core point of view of the Apes coalition is really what we consider. So let me begin, let's see here.
Yeah, put the mouse there.
Put the mouse,
Yeah, just
rather than,
just the first time, I think. That's
It
right.
should be good now.
should it be good now?
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, what are we dedicated to? I mean, our mission essentially is to bring, you know, to the public and its policymakers and practitioners in particular, the evolutionarily informed solutions to problems in living. You know, try to give a little kind of philosophy of science background to this. And we promote communicating proximate applications to problems in living founded on ultimate causation, ultimate explanations. I mean, we don't want to lose sight of the reality of survival and reproductive fitness and inclusive fitness in why things work. Also, there are solutions today and being generated by evolutionary psychologists and those who are evolutionists and may not want to say they're EP, evolutionary psychologists, but we would like to illuminate the roots, the evolutionary roots that support the solutions that evolutionary psychologists generate. So we want to put that on a very firm, solutions on a very firm evolutionary basis. And ultimately, from a real practical sense, we need to be building working relationships between the public sector, policymakers and practitioners, and evolutionary scientists. Now, as a coalition, AEPS advocates an evolutionary sciences following the theoretical and experimental paths Dan referred to as we want to be on the right path, that result in 3 stages, which is essentially characterize a scientific method: understanding, prediction, and control. Certainly we need to understand both the ultimate and proximate causes of behavior, and that should lead to predictions, much of which we see in the hypotheses that the researchers generate and theoreticians will generate. However, that needs to lead, as APES would like to see it happen, to eventually applied methods of controlling. And what are the 3 characteristics? What is it that we're controlling about behavior or any event? It's the frequency, let's see if I got that, frequency, intensity, and the duration of events. How often they happen, how intense they are on some scale of intensity, and how long do they last? Okay? In fact, when you get to some of the other presentations, you see how those 3 apply. And essentially, we want to control the frequency, intensity, and duration of those events. And that's the real applications. Now, most evolutionary scientists, and other scientists, research scientists in particular, certainly do address the first 2 stages in this path of scientific method, and that is they clearly address understanding and they can make certain predictions from the understanding of the cause and effect of things. Given certain conditions, these events will occur with some probability, and that's what research is really in scientific method is out to establish. APES, however, is dedicated to encouraging evolutionary sciences to go beyond understanding and prediction and to recommend, okay, moving to the applied activity, which is to control those predictable events. Now, one of the issues that I will talk about perhaps in clinical is the issue of control is a slippery slope, and you know, it's fraught with a history of social Darwinism and social engineering. So I know many will wince at that, which I will mention later. Now, the 3rd step in the scientific path, at least one of the people who have influenced me is Francis Bacon back in the 1500s, 1530s or so. He wrote a particular piece called Novum Organum, and he talks about getting beyond simple assumptions based on observation and perceptions, essentially folk psychology and assumptions about how behavior is supposed to play out. And he emphasizes that the only real way to come to, quotes, the truth is to engage in the scientific method, which is controlled study, and taking a look at how events occur, cause and effect, and you can then make some predictions. But he didn't stop there, okay? And he's the one who, one of the ones, there are others as well, who essentially is responsible for the notion that knowledge is power. He put it as knowledge and human power are synonymous, but essentially knowledge is power. However, he didn't stop at that point. What he said was, science and the scientific method is really designed to improve the quality of life of the human condition. So the real power lies in using the knowledge that is generated. And certainly, you know I've spoken to some very, very respected thinkers. Dan Brian and I have had a discussion. I spoke to Rob Kurzban, who's going to be talking. He and I met at the University of Penn talking about this. And clearly, the goal of most, the mission for most scientists is to create new knowledge. And the issue, I think, that the AEPS coalition has is that most scientists, from the applied point of view perspective, travel an incomplete scientific path. They stop at prediction and don't want to venture out into the world of applied, which is the issues of control, treatment, the application of some of these principles. And we're just asking that, the evolutionary scientists consider moving beyond, that two-stage process and get to the third stage in the scientific process. So our position, this is the final slide, our position at AEPS is not intended to discourage or disparage the generation of new knowledge, but to move beyond that, go a step further, when it's appropriate, and when certainly some scientist feels comfortable, and to recommend, at least recommend to others, primarily in the public, policymakers and practitioners, evolutionarily informed practical solutions that emerge from their work, their scientific work, or theorizing. So, essentially we're just asking for an augmentation to their efforts to generate new knowledge, take that one step further, and at least venture to recommend the possible applied aspects of their work. We've gone so far as to even suggest that maybe each paper and a scientific paper in evolution end with, and here's what the practical implications or consequences of this particular finding may be, or theorizing may be. Dan Kruger and I are attempting, and Dan will say more about it, to get a special issue of JSEC off the ground devoted to applied. I know Dan has communicated very, very straightforwardly to the authors of the several papers. I think we had 11, do we have 11, Dan? 11 submissions. And almost every author had to be reminded to, put into words the practical applied aspects of their work. So it's not an easy thing, I think, for scientists to do, of any ilk, not just evolutionary. Anyway, that's it, and we're going to get on with our presentations. Any questions or comments?
Awesome.
Okay, let's go get them.